I am 95 years old, and I wasn't supposed to be here this long. When people look at me now, they see wrinkles, slow steps, and a soft voice. What they don't see is how many times my body tried to give up, and how many times I refused to let it. If you're watching this and you're fighting cancer, or you love someone who is, stay with me. What I'm about to tell you might help you breathe a little easier. And if you're young, really young, listening out of curiosity, don't scroll away. Some lessons are easier to hear before life breaks you. I didn't grow up thinking I was strong. I grew up during the civil rights era, when standing tall could cost you everything. That time taught me something I didn't understand until much later. Strength is often quiet, and it usually shows up when you're scared. I was raised in faith, not the loud kind, the kind where you pray, then you get up and do what needs to be done. When I was in my 30s, I worked as a seamstress, like many women did back then. Long hours, tired hands. Later in life, when most people thought I should slow down, I became a nurse. I spent years taking care of other people when their bodies failed them, holding hands, wiping tears, telling them the truth gently. I never imagined I would become one of them. At 65 years old, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The kind of cancer that doesn't ask if you're ready. The hardest part wasn't the chemotherapy. It wasn't losing my hair. It wasn't the sickness. The hardest part was accepting that my body, the same body that carried children, worked jobs, served others, was starting to give up on me. I didn't think I would survive. Not once. And if you've ever sat in a doctor's office and felt your chest get tight because you were afraid to ask, "Am I going to die?" then you already know what I felt. Before I go any further, let me ask you something. If this story feels familiar, if you or someone you love is fighting right now, pause this video, tap the like button, and come back. Not for me, but so this reaches someone who needs it before it's too late. Because none of us fight alone, even when it feels that way. I want to talk to you about my husband, because no one survives cancer alone. You may sit in the chair by yourself. You may hear the diagnosis by yourself, but if you survive, someone carried you when you couldn't carry yourself. My husband was not a loud man. He didn't give speeches. He didn't tell me everything would be fine. He just stayed. When I was diagnosed, the doctor talked about treatments, percentages, side effects. I nodded. My husband reached for my hand. That's when I knew I was scared. Chemotherapy changes you. Not just your body, your mind. Some days, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I didn't feel like a wife. I didn't feel like a woman. I felt like a patient. My hair fell out in clumps. My skin changed. My strength disappeared. One morning, I told him, "You didn't sign up for this." He looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "I signed up for you." That sentence carried me through months of sickness. He drove me to every appointment, sat in plastic chairs that hurt his back, learned how to cook things I could keep down, helped me bathe when I was too weak to lift my arms, and never, not once, made me feel like a burden. If you are young and listening to this, listen carefully. Love is not how someone makes you feel on your best day. Love is how they treat you on your worst one. After a long year, the doctor said the words I never expected to hear. You're cancer-free. I cried. My husband cried. We thought we had been given more time. What we didn't know, what none of us ever know, is that life doesn't give evenly. 1 year later, my husband got sick. Not cancer. Something fast. And just like that, the man who held me up was gone. I survived cancer. And then I had to learn how to survive grief. After my husband died, the house got very quiet. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. Every room still sounded like him. The chair where he sat, the coffee mug he always used, the clock he fixed himself, ticking on the wall. I had survived cancer, but grief was a different illness. It doesn't make you sick in one place. It settles everywhere. Some mornings, I would wake up and forget for a moment. Then I'd reach for him and remember. That's when my family stepped in. They didn't fix me. They didn't rush me. They showed up. My children came by with groceries I didn't ask for. They sat at my table and talked about ordinary things. Weather, work, grandchildren. That mattered more than big speeches. My sisters called every evening, not to ask how I was doing. They already knew. They called to remind me that life was still happening. People from church brought food, casseroles, soup, bread wrapped in foil. I didn't always eat it, but I felt remembered. Here's something important I want you to hear. Strong people still need help. I had raised children, worked hard jobs, survived cancer, and I still needed someone to sit beside me while I cried. If you're young and you think asking for help means failure, listen to me. Letting people love you is not weakness. It is wisdom. There were days I didn't want company, days I wanted to sit in my grief and not talk. My family respected that. They learned the difference between being alone and being abandoned. Slowly, very slowly, the days softened. I started laughing again, not because the pain was gone, but because love was still there. Grief is strange. It doesn't arrive like a storm. It comes quietly, creeps in when you least expect it. After Walter died, I thought I had survived the hardest part. I was wrong. Some mornings, I would wake up and forget for a moment that he was gone. Then I'd remember, and the emptiness would hit all at once. I didn't know if I could bear it, and yet my family stayed, not to fix me, not to tell me what to do. They just showed up. That was enough. My children called every day, even when I didn't answer. They left messages full of life and love. Grandchildren brought laughter into rooms that felt too quiet. Friends from church came by with casseroles and soup, but mostly just their presence. I began to understand that surviving cancer does not mean surviving life. Some things take longer to heal. Some pains don't leave your body. They just get softer over time. I learned that it's okay to need people, to let them help you, even when you feel you should be strong. And slowly, very slowly, I laughed again. Not because the pain was gone, but because love was still here. If you are young and watching this, hear me clearly. Asking for help does not make you weak. Accepting love does not make you small. It makes you human. And if you're watching and grieving, Give yourself permission to feel, to cry, to miss them. Do not rush. Healing has its own clock. I'm 95 years old now, and I move slower than I once did. I forget small things. I can't run like I used to, but I understand life better than I ever did when I was young. After Walter died, I didn't try to replace the life we had. I didn't try to be who I was before cancer or before grief. I learned to be who I was after. I started sitting on the porch in the evenings, watching the sky change colors. I looked at old photographs, not to hurt myself, but to remember that love was real. I learned that healing does not mean forgetting. It means carrying love differently. If you are fighting cancer right now, here's my advice. Do not measure your strength by how positive you feel. Some days, just staying alive is enough. Let people help you. Let them love you badly, imperfectly, in their own way. If you're caring for someone who is sick, your presence matters more than your words. Sit with them. Hold their hand. Don't rush them to be brave. And if you're young, really young, listen closely. Life moves fast. Health feels permanent until it isn't. Love feels guaranteed until it's gone. Call your parents. Forgive faster. Don't wait for the right time. I survived cancer because I stayed one more day, and then another. At 95, I can tell you this with certainty. A meaningful life is not built on big moments. It is built on showing up over and over, even when it hurts. If this story gave you comfort, strength, or perspective, share it with someone who needs it. Because as long as someone hears it, none of us are ever truly gone.